So today we're looking at the Olight S1r Baton Turbo S. So this is actually one of the newer lights that they came out with, and a lot of people are familiar with this because there was a big sale over Black Friday in 2017 where if you went on Amazon you were able to get this for around $24, which normally this is a $65 light, give or take. I was lucky enough to grab that deal when I saw it, and frankly I'm very happy that I did. So this is actually a very small light, one of the smallest ones I own. Only thing smaller than that I do have right now on a regular basis in use is the Streamlight Micro Stream. But this is only a 30 lumen single AAA battery light compared to the Olight, which is up to 900 lumens and runs off a rechargeable CR123, which does come included. Now, one of the things I like about this light is it's great for an EDC light, something for general utility, task light, things like that. It is not, however, a good tactical light. Now, the reason that is because the user face. The button on the side is great for utility. It fits in the palm of your hand, it's very small, very lightweight, and it's convenient. And now as I say that, I just experienced the problem I've had once in the past. So you notice I'm pressing the power button and it's not turning on. What happens is you now have to take the battery cap off, put it back on, and now it should work fine. As expected, it works perfectly fine once I did that. I've yet to figure out exactly what's causing that issue. This is the second time this happened since I've owned this light. My assumption is that it's an issue with the terminals on the back of this shorting out. And the funny part is I couldn't have predicted that to happen if I tried, so it's nice that this actually happened during the review. What I think may have happened is that it does have a little note on the back of the battery cover that says do not short out the positive and the negative. The positive being the magnetic ring in the back here, the negative being the pin in the center. They are a little bit recessed on the negative post. Now, I do carry this just tossed into a pocket, so the likelihood something else may have come into contact with that and jumped across that is very likely. So that is my assumption, that it may have actually shorted itself out, and that's what caused it to go into some sort of a protection mode, which if that's what the case is, I'm perfectly fine with that. So I'm going to actually contact Olight and see if I can get any information about what could be causing that, because I have seen a few other people comment about that same issue on different forums. But if I have anything useful to report back, I'll make sure to put it in that comment section below as I get some detail. As of right now, that is my best assumption of what's happening. So, diving back in, the reason I don't recommend this as a tactical light, the reason that you just saw with it failing on you for that particular reason is a perfect example of why I would not recommend this for anything more than a utility or task light. The second reason is the user interface. When you press that button once, you get whatever the last setting you were on was. If you want to go to a higher setting, you have to hold it down, and it cycles through low, medium, and high. Now, if I want to go to the ultra bright mode, which is typically what you would think of for a self-defense situation or any type of tactical use, you have to double-click. And that goes into the brightest mode, which in this case is 900 lumens. Or if you want a strobe, you have to triple tap. And it goes into a strobe, which is not showing up too well on the camera, but you can see what it's doing here. Now, that's all well and good. But that is way too complicated for a self-defense situation. It's a very small button, and it's not one click and you're on. My normal flashlight that I would carry for a full-size light that I would actually use in competition is the Surefire G2x Pro, and that's nice and simple. It's a tail switch, press once for low, double tap for high, click and it's on permanently. And even that, I think, is a little bit overly complicated for a true tac light. I really would rather have something that's not common, but a click switch with a single output high lumen light. So essentially, if you take the high mode of that Surefire, keep the clicky tail cap, that would be my ideal light. But generally speaking, the tactical design is going to be the non-clicking tail cap, and then you twist for full-time on. But that's neither here nor there. This one, on the other hand, is great for utility light. I've had so many situations where this thing has been awesome to have. But the problem is, it's not great for pressing into service in a moment's notice. And part of the reason is the way I find is the most useful to carry it. As I mentioned before, it does have the switch on the side here rather than a tail cap, which has a nice hard tactile click to it. This is an electronic switch on the side, which is nice. It's very convenient and works well. However, it's very easy to turn on in your pocket. Now, there is an easy solution for that because the pocket clip can turn above it. It blocks the button and can still be fully functional, and it doesn't have any interference because it wraps up and then back around. So that's how I usually carry it, whether it be clipped onto a pocket or just tossed in the bottom, which is more common for me. But the problem is, now if you want to take it out, you have to move that out of the way and then turn it on, which is fine if you're just looking for your keys or trying to do something like that. But if you're under a stressful situation, that is not going to be conducive. But, so forgetting about this as a tactical light, I'm going to continue this review forward as a general use utility light, which for that purpose, it's friggin' awesome. And one of the biggest things that I'm sure you're already noticing is it does have a belt clip that wraps towards the back so the front is exposed. What that means is you can put this on the brim of a hat. Put that on the hat, and there you go. You have a headlamp up to 900 lumens and on a rechargeable battery. And that is actually one of the most common ways I use this because I frequently do wear a baseball hat, and having that on there has been awesome. The other thing that I found extremely useful is the magnetic back. One of the first things, actually one of the first days I owned this, I had to do something on my wife's car. I think I was just checking the oil or something like that. But very mundane little task, but needed to pop the hood. There's no underhood light. So I took this, used the magnetic portion on the back, and stuck it to the magnetic portion of the hood. And it worked great. Same idea as sticking to this pair of alignments here. It holds very well, holds its weight more than sufficiently. You can shake it around a little bit, it's not falling off, and it works great. And I've stuck this under the side of the hood on several different cars when I was doing something at night and needed a little bit extra light, and it works awesome. But that's where it really shines, is those utility tasks where it's not a very demanding use and it's not under a stressful situation. Now, going into the different modes here, so that is actually leaning towards proving my point here, that this is not turning on again. And it was right after I had it on the curved surface of the pliers and it curved over there. So the likelihood that those holes may have touched is extremely likely. So that's actually something that Olight may want to address in a future version, or possibly even release a updated tail cap for this that has a slightly more recessed backing to it. So I'm going to contact them and see if that is a confirmation of what's going on there. But if it is just putting into a protection mode, that seems like a perfectly acceptable way to handle that situation rather than shorting out the battery and just having this overheat and possibly rupture in your hand. So moving back to the light itself, even with that issue, I still really like this flashlight and will continue to carry it. Again, as a utility light only. Now, the different modes you have, as I mentioned before, it starts on the same mode that you shut it off on, whether it be the low, medium, and the high. If you had it in the turbo or the strobe mode, it does not turn on to those. So again, as I mentioned before, to cycle through those, you just hold down the power switch, and it cycles low, medium, to high at the rate you're seeing. The lowest mode is very, very dull. I believe it's only half a lumen. The middle volume or middle output is actually my personal favorite for most utility tasks. You can easily see 50 to 100 feet outdoors in the middle of the night with no other sources of light very, very well. And then if you really want to have it shine nice and bright, go into the high mode. I don't usually use this one too often because it obviously does drain the battery pretty quick. And then if you really want to blind someone, the turbo mode is a double click, and the strobe is a triple click from there. But overall, it's been very useful for a utility light for me. It does have a lanyard strap in the back here. I'm not a big fan of lanyards on my stuff, but a lot of people do like that, and it does have a nice metal way to hold that. Now, one of the cool things about this is it is rechargeable. So one of the things I usually avoid having a general utility light that is a CR123 because, let's face it, they are $1.50, $2 per battery, and it gets expensive quick. Having a USB rechargeable flashlight makes that really easy and really convenient. Toss it on the charger at the end of the night when you've been using it a little bit. Plug this into a USB port. I try to make sure it's at least a 2 amp charger to at least get some decent output to it. And it works great. Charges up nice and fast, and it does have a red-green indicator on the back of the charger right here, and that's been very convenient so you can see when it's charging, when it's done. Now, one thing to note is that for the turbo mode, it only works when you're using the proper rechargeable battery because it does have a very high power output option on that battery. If you're using a regular CR123 instead of that, it will not have that option. It'll just revert to the low, medium, high. I have not tested if the strobe mode still works without the rechargeable battery that it came with, but that's really not an issue most people are going to run into. Most people are just going to leave the battery in it, or if they want spares, they'll get the same one to go with it. And then in the package, this was just a nice touch they had. They do give you a nice little leather pouch here, which again, actually that is not leather, but it's leather-like. I'm actually not even sure what that material is, but it's almost like a suede-ish feeling to it. But either way, it's a nice pouch. I would never use this personally. That's why it still looks brand new. It's still folded up from being in the box. But a lot of people like keeping these things perfectly clean and unscratched. I am not that type of person, as I'm sure you can tell from my longer use lights that are very, very worn down, and there's pretty much no finish left in half the areas on here. That's what this light is going to look like in the next couple of years once I get some more heavy use on this thing. But if you have any questions, guys, please put them in the comment section below. And if you, as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.